All right, folks. Time for my favorite topic, babyface heel. Now, for those who may not know what babyface heel means in wrestling terminology, babyface means good guy hero, a heel, a bad guy, villain, and tweener, someone in between. So I come up with a list of athletes or celebrities, and me and the panel, we going to decide whether they are a babyface, heel, or tweener. Now, the first one is in the NFL. Matty Ice, Matt Ryan. I think babyface because he hasn't gotten the credit or recognition that he deserves. People always bring up that 28-3 lead, but Matt Ryan has been a good enough quarterback. He's been consistent. I believe he will go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He has enough of a case. I mean, that NFC South division, there's him, Drew Brees, Cam Newton. You want to talk about a quarterback division? That was it right there. And
Hmm.
then, of course, him, Julio Jones, the combination. But it wasn't just Julio Jones. He also had Tony G, Tony Gonzalez. He also had Roddy White. You know, Atlanta, one thing that they're known for doing is producing offense. And Matt Ryan was the guy as the successor post Michael Vick. And Matt Ryan has made enough of a case, hasn't gotten enough credit, not just in the NFL, but also in Atlanta. Because when you think of Atlanta, they still, I mean, of course, you can't forget or disregard the Michael Vick experience. That was one for the ages. But Matt Ryan made you feel more than proud to be as an Atlanta fan, as an Atlanta sports fan. He did a lot of good for that community. Class act. I believe he'll get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Maybe not as a first ballot, but third, fourth, whatever type of ballot. If Philip Rivers, he's going to be in the discussion for the Hall of Fame. Why not Matt Ryan? And I think Matt Ryan has put up consistent numbers each and every year, and hasn't gotten enough of the credit or the recognition as he deserves. So I say Matt Ryan, babyface.
Babyface. I say babyface. Look, everybody. I'll make this comparison. When it came to the Atlanta franchise in the city, I'll make this comparison. It's kind of a crazy comparison, but I'll compare it anyway. It's kind of like Michael Vick was Mike Tyson and Matt Ryan was Lennox Lewis. When you think about how exciting Mike Tyson was as far as the knockout power, the speed, the power, the the defense, able to just split defenders up and down. That's what you could. That's how electrifying that he was. When you think about Lennox Lewis, he was a winner, but not necessarily up to the excitement level of Tyson. If I'm making sense or not. So when you think about the fundamentals, when you think about what it takes to win, you think about Lennox Lewis when you think about that. But when you think about excitement, you don't necessarily think about him. You think about Tyson. So that's what I compare that to. Everybody never forgot about Michael Vick because he put us back on the map after the Super Bowl. And he was very, very popular, man. And the dynamic of the city, when you talk about a quarterback, when you're a black quarterback in Atlanta, one of the meccas of America for African Americans, it's an amazing feeling. And for him to come in and have to deal with all of that on top of being burdened with winning a Super Bowl, I think he handled that greatly. Matt Ryan, the first look before Matt Ryan came in, we did not have back to back winning season in the history of the franchise. For the first 5 years, we did not have a losing season. When you talk, I will just be real. During the Matt Ryan era, I was excited every single Sunday morning to get up and watch Atlanta play because I knew we had a chance to win. And I'm talking about legitimately, not on no fluke plays. We had a chance to beat teams and go out there and just put them on their behinds. During the Matt Ryan era, I look forward to waking up every morning, every Sunday morning, and watching Atlanta Falcons football. Now, granted, I'm a diehard Falcons fan. I was gonna watch them anyway, but everything stopped when he came on, when he became part of that team, especially after that first year. His first pass in the NFL set the tone. Set the tone. Touchdown pass to Michael Jenkins right down the sideline. And it was on downhill from there. Damn near won the division our first year, went to the playoff, had us in the playoffs his first year. One of the best rookie seasons you'll ever want to see. Second year, not so good. Third year, played lights out. Was in MVP conversations not once, but at least 3 times in his career.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of it, even though he was losing, his numbers was better than his MVP year. Matty Ice, man, thank you for making Atlanta a winner. I know we did not win a Super Bowl, man, but look, it is so darn difficult to win a Super Bowl, especially when you play against the greatest of all time. I cannot fault you for losing that Super Bowl. I still fault Kyle Shanahan. The only thing he had to do was run that ball. But Matty Ice, man, I don't think people understand this. Matty Ice was not only a staple on the football field. He was a staple in the community in Atlanta. He was always hosting camps, doing football camps, doing fundraisers, doing things of that nature. And he was always involved in the community. He was the old school guy who was a part of the community as a quarterback. He was a part of the community. You could walk around in the city of Atlanta and see him. You don't really see stuff like that nowadays. He was reachable. He was part of that community. He was at the Braves game. He was at the Braves game. He was at the Braves game in a couple Braves games. I mean, he was even in this past year when I went up to Atlanta Falcons training camp. He was at the Falcons training camp. He's still a part of that team. Matty Ice, man, every day I woke up on Sunday and you played for my Atlanta Falcons, I knew we had a chance to win that game, no matter who we played. No matter if he played the best team in the NFL, I knew we had a chance to win. Not on no fluke stuff. I knew we had it, especially when you got the fantastic trio. When we had Roddy White, Julio, and Tony, I knew we had a chance to do a lot of special things. And if it wasn't for a lot of different things that happened, they was determined to make that Brother Bowl happen. Because that call at the end of the game against the San Francisco 49ers in that NFC Championship game, that was a farce. That was a farce, and they know it. That was holding. That was pass interference. So there's a lot of chances that they had to win a Super Bowl, man, especially 28-3. They got a lot of number 1 seeds. A lot of people bring excitement to your life. Not enough people bring winning culture to your life. Vic brought excitement. Matt Ryan brought winning culture. When we went to the game on Sunday, when you had 12 Gauge, Julio Jones, Tony Gonzalez, Austin Hooper, some of the great players that we had on that team, we had a chance to win every single Sunday. We had a chance to be real darn good, man. And I'm just thankful that I got a chance to see that era. I didn't have to ask about the era of Steve Barkowski. I didn't have to reminisce on the Michael Vick era, although it was a good era. I knew for years, we didn't have a losing season until I think like the 6th year he was there. And that was because a lot of injuries on the
20,
offense.
2013, I believe, was the first losing season.
Exactly. We didn't have. He got there in like 2008. We didn't have a losing season for damn near 6 years after never having a winning season. After never having back-to-back winning seasons. And look, fifth most fourth quarter comebacks in the history of the NFL. Matty Ice, thank you, man. I know a lot of people don't appreciate you because they were so used to the excitement, but hey, you brought winning to Atlanta, winning to the state of Georgia. And when I woke up and I watched you every single Sunday, I knew we had a chance to win this damn game. And when I said we're going to win this game, I can legitimately be proven right. So big ups to Matt Ryan, man. Undisputed babyface.
BRF.
I mean, Babyface, greatest player in the history of the franchise. I mean, some people, you might say Dion, you might say Vic. No, it's Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's the greatest player in the history of this franchise. He's the first player in the history of this franchise to win a league MVP. I mean, 10 straight years, 4,000 yards. Only quarterback to this day still that's done that. 4-time Pro Bowler. This is, people sleep on how good Matt Ryan was. But in the era of when Manning was still at his peak, Brady, Breeze, Aaron Rodgers, we talk about Breeze and how he was so good, but like he never won an MVP. Matt Ryan got one. 2016, one of the greatest, I think a top 10 season quarterback wise, arguably in the history of the league. 4,924 yards, 4,944 yards, 38 touchdowns, 7 picks. 69.6% completion percentage. Dude was on a different type of zone in 2016. He was in a different level. But yeah, like it's not just how good he was on the field. It's what he's done in Atlanta, in the community, like always accessible, like like, it's like no matter what fans said about him or how they treated him, he never was down about it. He always kept a smile on his face. He always stayed positive about it, and he still does to this day. Because I mean, let's keep it a buck, and let's keep it 100. I'm a Falcons fan through and through, so I'm gonna ride with Falcons fans. But when it comes to Matt Ryan, I'm gonna need y'all shut the hell up. I'm gonna need y'all shut up. Quit with these stupid nicknames. We get bad quarterback play. You always want to compare it to Matt Ryan, and it's like, let me tell y'all something. Y'all always want to talk about Matt Ryan was carried by this person, carried by this person. Y'all do notice whenever a high-profile wide receiver leaves Atlanta and goes to a new team, do you hear from said wide receiver ever again? Austin Hooper got a bag. Who is he at this point? Harry Douglas got a bag. Who is he working on TV now. He got a bag for Tennessee. You ain't hear from him again. Even Julio left in what was it, 2021. Julio left, got traded, went to Tennessee when he was still kind of at the peak of his powers. Didn't have that good a year. Matt Ryan in 2021, his last year in Atlanta, was 16 yards short of going 4,000 for an 11 straight year. So people can miss me with this whole Matt Ryan was carried by this person, was carried by this person. Matt Ryan's career was carried by Julio Jones. Matt Ryan won Offensive Rookie of the Year and was already a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback before Julio Jones even got there. And just in the consistency throughout his entire career, he is the Dan Marino of this generation. If you want to talk about consistent players who were really, really good, who hit a peak that we still talk about, but yet couldn't win a championship. If you want to look at all of the really good quarterbacks that played during our era that didn't win a championship, you're not about to sit here and tell me Matt Ryan's not the best of those quarterbacks of this generation outside of maybe Breeze. If you want to say Breeze, that's fine. But when you're talking about guys like Breeze, when you're talking about guys like Phillip Rivers, when you're talking about guys like a Cam Newton, guys like that, Matt Ryan is the best quarterback that's not Drew Brees that didn't win a championship. And those Matt Ryan, Drew Brees games in like the early 2010s when Atlanta and New Orleans were both kind of like at their peaks. Like Atlanta was coming into their own. New Orleans was fresh off a championship, but I mean, was still competing year after year after year. Some of the wars they had were just tremendous. And but like I said, Matt Ryan is more than just the talent on the field. Off the field, he may be a better person than he is a player. And that says something to the man he is, as good a player as he was. I think Matt Ryan is most definitely in Babyface. Like I said, he is the greatest player in the history of the franchise. And if anybody wants to debate me on that, feel free. You ain't gonna win, but I welcome any debate. I welcome any debate. Matt Ryan's the greatest player in the history of that franchise, and I don't think it's even close. He is a babyface because as good as he is on the field, he was even better off the field. And honestly, that is like, as a Falcons fan, that's like one of my goals. I want to meet this man at some point. I want to pick his brain. I want to talk football with him. I want to meet this man at some point. So shout out to Matt Ryan. You did my soul proud, especially after the Michael Vick fiasco, to come in and really stabilize his franchise after the Michael Vick situation. To go 5 straight years with a winning record. And I mean, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, 2009, we didn't make the playoffs. We were still 9-7. So, I mean, that's just one of those. 2009 is just one of those years where unfortunate things happen. Things didn't go their way. But let me tell you something. Falcons fans really need to start. Yeah, exactly. Falcons fans really need to appreciate Matt Ryan a lot more than they do, because it's not like the Atlanta Falcons are synonymous with winning. So they really need to appreciate him a lot more than they do. So shout out to number 2, greatest player in the history of the franchise, definite babyface.
Shout out to some comments from Cheese and the Bear podcast, and also Inside the Locker Room. Respect the Matt Ryan pick, but I do love John Abraham. That is a very good one. I mean, John Abraham was a very good contributor for the Atlanta Falcons, and he was also good for the New York Jets. Champ, I'm gonna let you go on this one. Kobe Bryant.
Tweener. A tweener. I have to be honest. Simply because you can't hide from 3 things. You can't hide from the incident. I'll just call it the incident. You can't hide from the beef between him and Shaq that eventually got Shaq traded. And during the early days before Pau Gasol, some of the harsh relationships that he had with teammates, in particularly Smush Parker. So those are 3 things that kind of like, kind of blur the lines a little bit, because, remember when he got into the incident, he brought up Shaq's name in certain situations. So that was and then, the whole not wanting Phil Jackson back, they literally hold Kobe Bryant responsible for the downfall of the early 2000s Lakers versus, Dr. Buss. Kobe was an easy target because guess what? He had to dial things back when it came to being, one of the best players. You know what I believe, though, with Shaq and Kobe? If this would have happened, I believe they would have won more championships. As time went on, you saw that Kobe was ascending. And I believe that if Shaq would have taken a backseat ride and been able to say, okay, now it's your team, I believe they would have won more championships. Because as we saw, Shaq only had like 2 to 3 more good years left in. And Kobe was ascending. So I believe that if he would have played a Robin role and been willing to play a Robin role, they would have stuck together because Kobe was ascending. But Shaq, plays a role in that too. He said, look, and to a certain extent, you can't blame him. I'm too big to sit in the back seat of anybody's car. So, when you are the iron team, that being Shaq, hey, and then you proved it. You went down there and you helped Dwayne Wade get a championship, get a chip. So I have to put him as the tweener because you can't hide from certain incidents. The relationship he had with Shaq during the first iteration of his career, him being kind of held responsible for that. The incident, I will say, won't elaborate on that anymore. If you know, you know. And then, the fragile relationship he had with teammates, and particularly Smush Parker. So take that out of the situation and look, hell of a basketball player, number one. For people who keep saying Kobe was never in GOAT conversation, stop lying. Stop lying. You heard this. You heard it. You heard it on television. You saw it on television. Especially if you grew up especially if you in my generation, you saw it. So all of this false blank rhetoric, I will say, that he was not held in high regard until he passed away is a crock. After those two back-to-back without Shaq, you started hearing him in conversations more with Jordan than ever. And to be honest with you, everybody was banking on him getting number 6. If he had gotten number 6, people was going to hold him in even higher regard because guess what? He would have been equal to his idol. So for those people who keep saying he was not held in, no, go back and look at the talking heads on television. Go back and listen to the barbershop talk. Go back and listen to the early versions of podcasting. They were talking about him in GOAT conversations even back then. And for context, look, let's just keep it all the way above. The reason why I bring up those three things is because prior to the 2008 Olympics, after the Shaq incident, after the incident, his fragile relationship with teammates, he was not a media darling during that time. Until after the 2008 Olympics Redeem Team. He was not a media darling during that time.
And there was even a time at one point he even wanted to be traded.
Yes, I remember that. Like I said, I'm a diehard Laker fan. I remember that. And if it wasn't for a few things, he probably would have gotten traded. But he squashed the trade. He never he didn't end up leaving in the first place. But that wasn't the first time a star player threatened and wanted to be traded. Magic Johnson said, I wanted to be traded. You saw what happened with that situation. So that wasn't the first time that a Laker great stated that he wanted to be traded because he didn't think that things was going in the right direction. Magic Johnson did the same thing, and he was only about 4 years into his career. But he was in GOAT conversations even when he was playing. Especially after he won back-to-back without Shaq because he proved that he can win it without him. Went to 3 straight finals without Shaq. Won 2 of them. Had it not been for a lot of other circumstances later on in his career, as far as, trades were concerned, trades that didn't happen, free agency, he probably would have got another one. But, yeah, he's a tweener, I will say. Great basketball player, did a lot for the community, spoke up. What was surprising to me was how he spoke up for different causes. That was something that I wasn't used to seeing late in his career. Speaking with Jim Brown, speaking about different social justice issues. That was something that I didn't see early in his career. He was relatable too. Look, Kobe was only he was 18 when he first entered the league. He was 18 years old. He was 17, 18 years old when he first entered the league in 1996. I was 9 years old. I was 9 years behind Kobe. So you feel like as he grew, we grew up with him because he never left LA. You feel like as you grew up along with him. all the growing pains, all the joy, watching his kids grow up right before our eyes, seeing the bad relationships between him and Shaq just feuding all over the place. Yeah. But Kobe was one hell of a basketball player, man. Very influential. Brought a lot of light to the W
Yes,
while him and his daughter Gigi was alive. Brought a lot of light to the W. He was a strong advocate for WNBA basketball and women's basketball. Went to a lot of the WNBA games. Look, for people who keep talking, look, do your homework, do your history. That's the problem nowadays. Y'all don't do enough homework, man. I'm gonna just be real. Y'all need them homework. He was mentioned in GOAT conversations. And the thing is this. Yes, he got drafted by the Lakers.
Hornets.
Well, the trade, I'll say.
Yeah.
Yes, he got drafted and traded to the Lakers. And he was put in a good situation right offhand. But he had to fight in order to get his spot. Remember, he wasn't even the starting point guard. He wasn't even the star shooting guard when he first got traded to the Lakers. It was Eddie Jones.
And remember the playoff game against Utah, those air balls?
Yes. It was. Look, when he first got there, it was Shaq, Eddie Jones, Nick Van Exel, then Kobe. He had to fight in order to get through Nick Van Exel because everybody remember Nick Van Exel, Nick the Quick. He had to fight to get into the starting lineup, to get over those guys. And then it became him and Shaq. So, yeah, he had to fight in order to get his spot. Wasn't nothing given to him. Because guess what? Nick Van Exel was damn good. Eddie Jones was an all-star. And he had to earn his keep. But for people who keep saying, well, he was never mentioned in those conversations when he was alive, you're lying. And you're trying to rewrite history. We see a lot of that nowadays, but in particularly in sports. So tweener, not just for what he did on the basketball court, but what he did off of it, for his philanthropy, for getting a Grammy, Dear Basketball, for advocating for women's sports the way he does. I mean, it would have been so amazing if he was still alive, seeing Gigi at go to UConn and eventually coming to the W. That would have been special. So rest in peace to the late great one, man. The mama mentality. Bro.
Champ, I gotta hold your feet to the fire. I completely disagree with you, brother. Babyface. He's Kobe Bryant. The Black Mamba is a babyface. Look, I call Mike Tyson a babyface. And just like Kobe Bryant, Mike Tyson went through his ordeal. Mike Tyson was convicted of rape back in 1992. Even though you and I, we don't believe he did it. He didn't have the best representation in the world.
He had a tax lawyer. How the hell you gonna defend me in an essay case? I got a tax lawyer.
No, it wasn't an essay. It was a rape case. And
I'm being kind with my words right about now.
I know, but eventually people gonna know. You told me before. It's kind of like in Vietnam. I'm going to Vietnam with a BB gun.
Yeah, basically.
Champ, the reason why I call Kobe Bryant a babyface, he personified what you can be as long as you're willing to work hard and put in the time. Kobe's no nonsense. Kobe had to work, fight for everything. He was our Michael Jordan, post Michael Jordan, as far as the mentality, the way he walked, the way he talked, the way he put in the time. Dear Basketball, yes, won an Oscar. Kobe showed you that he can not only succeed in basketball, not only with Mamba mentality, but also in life. And I hate to use this as an example, but I'm sorry, Gayle King got a lot of blowback. Remember that interview that she did with Lisa Leslie?
Oh man, that was I never forget. That one got out of hand real quick. Remember, and I know you're gonna laugh when I say this, but I remember this. Remember that got so big that Snoop Dogg even said something about it.
And
And
even his mama had to make him apologize.
yes, and not only that, a certain someone brought him to the table. You know, I'm sorry, I can't even hold my laugh in. Like, of
But
all
that
people,
but that tells you how revered Kobe Bryant was. And this was like a week or two after Kobe Bryant passed away. And Gayle King, I like Gayle King, but this is the same Gayle King that was commended for how the way she handled the R. Kelly interview. So my thing is, Gayle King, you had all this time to interview Kobe Bryant about what happened in Eagle County, Colorado. Only two people who know that story very well. That's Kobe Bryant and the accuser. You didn't interview them, but you interviewed Lisa Leslie, and Lisa Leslie had was not involved in that. That just and the way that people, particularly Snoop, got after Gayle King, that kind of tells you how revered Kobe Bryant is.
yeah,
Not just to Lakers, but to LA and to everything in general. You look at Michael Jordan when he gave his speech in Kobe Bryant's memorial. You see how the current players still respect and admire Kobe for his work ethic. And Kobe, unlike them old school cats, the younger players, they gravitated to Kobe. Kobe was willing to mentor, train, help them out. Kobe, even and at times too, we could look at in Shaq, but at the same time, Shaq also at fault. Dr. Buss was willing to move on from Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq at that point wanted $100 million. And Buss didn't want to pay Shaq that kind of money because Shaq was getting up there in age. And he knew evidently he was going to give that money to Kobe. And Kobe was dead ass serious when he and Vanessa were looking at houses in Chicago at that time. And for Kobe Bryant to prove that he could win without Shaq, that gave Kobe Bryant the validation. We got to stop with Kobe Bryant wasn't in the GOAT conversation because he was. If you don't have Kobe Bryant top 5, okay, that's fine. You can make an argument for other players above him. And I don't think Champ would have a problem with that. I have Kobe in my top 10. That's where I would rank Kobe. Even with the situation in Eagle County, Colorado, Kobe was still able to grow. Kobe was still able to evolve. And Phil Jackson, some of that was also on you. I mean, you wrote a book the last season, A Team in Search of a Soul. You exposed Kobe. You highlighted things to what you were doing. Now, obviously, you were doing that because, again, you were writing a book. You're going to sell the book. You're going to do everything you can to promote the book to make money. But you were revealing personal things that you had no business of doing. You were complaining. You talked about how with Kobe Bryant, I won't coach this team anymore as long as he's still on the roster. I believe it was the conversation he had with Mitch Kupchak. Yeah. I won't coach this team anymore as long as he's on that roster. I've had it with this kid. He won't listen to anyone. You talked about the plane that Kobe was complaining that he was flying on his way to Eagle County, Colorado and back. You were revealing personal stuff that you had no business of doing. So that kind of shows you how you are, Phil Jackson. That you are untrustworthy. It really does. I mean, and heck, to add on to that, look how the job Phil Jackson did with the New York Knicks. Although that's a story for another day. But Kobe Bryant, I say Babyface, because still a lot of younger people gravitate. They still love Kobe. He is what they wanted as a superhero, as a role model, regardless of the accusations that he's had. Remember, Champ, you always tell me, look, I mean, even though you may be disliked by the masses, you say that with Angel Reese.
Yeah.
And you see the backlash and criticism that Angel Reese has gotten lately, but still in all, LA, you won in LA, ain't easy the thing to do. You were able to overcome that. You were able to continue on with your career. And let's not forget his last game, that 61 point performance.
Of all people, Shaq wanted him. Of all people, Shaq wanted him to do that. I need you to score 50 points.
So it just tells you about Kobe Bryant, his work, his excellence, his talent, his drive, his inspiration to greatness, the Mamba mentality, regardless of through your ups and downs. Keep going. In the words of Martin Lawrence, one of the greatest comedians, ride this motherfucker till the wheels fall off. Ride this motherfucker till the wheels fall off. And for me, Kobe Bean Bryant is a babyface. BRF.
Kobe is definitely one of the most polarizing figures in the history of sports. Because honestly, it's like you can. Like a lot of athletes kind of fall in this same kind of class where it's like, okay, I'll call you a tweener, but it's just mainly like like how polarizing you are. Like you have those that ride with Kobe, that love Kobe, that just idolize him, and then you have those that's that they hold I mean, let's just keep it a buck. They hold Colorado against him. They're gonna forever hold Colorado against him. They're gonna forever hold it against him. But it sucks nowadays, especially because he's not here to defend himself. But yeah, I'll say like tweener, more towards babyface leaning because of like after basketball, like what he made himself. As far as hashtag girl dad. I can relate. I'm a girl dad myself, so I can relate to that. And just the documentary he won the I believe, was it a Grammy or an Oscar?
Oscar, dear basketball.
Yeah, their basketball wins an Oscar. Like, I mean, just
And sorry to cut you off, BRF. People who
no, you
talk
good.
about how Kobe Bryant, how he got so much blowback, and because they kept bringing up the Eagle County, Colorado. Newsflash: Harvey Weinstein was won Academy Awards, and he was still able to keep
Exactly.
them. So I don't want to hear that
Exactly.
shit.
Exactly. And let me tell you, and trust me, Harvey Weinstein is like it's like a conversation for like another month. The stuff that he's done, been accused of, that we practically know he's done. So we ain't even gonna go there as far as Harvey Weinstein and people trying to hold Kobe to these standards after after Colorado. But anytime a guy can go through something like that and have to go through rebuilding his image because he knows the kind of hit that's going to take on him, being in a situation like that, to be able to rebuild himself, to not only rebuild himself, make himself one of the best players in the league at that time, but then like after retirement, just being that guy, giving back to the community, doing all types of projects, and just I think the biggest thing with me with Kobe was just how he loved his girls. And, what I'm saying, like I said earlier, I can relate to that. Him and his love for his girls is like that's one of those things you see as far as like a man, having that kind of love in his heart and kind of having that it's a beautiful thing to see, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, that helicopter accident took him and Gigi, because us as sports fans, can't nobody tell me they weren't excited at the prospect of of Gianna Bryant wearing a Yukon Husky college uniform, and then ultimately getting into the WNBA. Because I mean, it would have been a beautiful thing to see, and it's unfortunate, but yeah, I think it's tweener just on the standpoint of how polarizing he was as an athlete and a person, but you can never take away the accomplishments, the accolades, but then also just the humanitarianism and just, you know, people, Mamba mentality. Like, he's one of the most influential players. Like, we talked about this in the topic a while back, like, as far as like having and I've seen it discussed. Well, I've seen it discussed, like an NBA Mount Rushmore off of just sheer influence to the game. Ain't no way Kobe's not in a Mount Rushmore when you want to talk about influential players, because mine is him, Mike, Steph, and surprisingly AI, not Braun. In terms of just in terms of an influential standpoint, that's my Mount Rushmore of NBA influential players. Like, growing up, yeah, come on, man. Growing up, ain't nobody gonna sit here and tell me they wasn't hanging with their boys and they wasn't shooting paper, balled up paper in the trash can, yelling Kobe. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on. Like, really? That's like, that's like influence on that's influence on a whole nother level. And we can't say enough about just what he grew into and what he became. And yeah, we know how, the stories as far as how hard he was as a teammate. But then it's like he kind of explained it like in an interview. It's like, what, like, people talk about how hard he was as a teammate. It's like, yeah, it's because you're not in. Yeah, I can sense it. I can see it in players. You're not the first to get there. You're not the last to leave. As far as like trusting his teammates to take the last shot, you weren't in there with me. You weren't the first to leave. You weren't the first to get there. You weren't the last to leave. How can I trust you with a shot like that? How can I trust you if you're not putting the same work ethic as I am? You know what I'm saying? He explained that. And it's like you can't do nothing but respect that when a player is that committed to being great and that committed to excellence and wanting to hold himself to the highest of standards that no one else is going to be able to hold him to other than himself. So his polarization, him being as polarizing a figure, for me, it is a tweener, but you just can't help. You can't help but love the man and respect the man and admire everything he brought to the sport of basketball. Just everything he brought as a human being in general. So shout out, and RIP to the Black Mamba, Kobe Bryant. Like I said, he's tweener, lean more babyface to me, but like I said, I feel like he's too polarizing of a figure for him not to be a tweener. But there's no way you cannot, you can't not respect everything that he did and everything that he brought. So shout out to Kobe. Definitely shout out to Kobe.
All right, one last one. Celebrity. I think it's pretty unanimous as a heel. Jada Pinkett Smith.
Next.
Now is unanimous. Yeah, now is very unanimous.
Next.
That's pretty unanimous right there. But we can go one more. One of my favorite cartoon characters, Butters. Babyface.
Come
on,
which one is which cartoon is Butters?
From South Park.
From South Park, yeah.
I mean, come
from
on.
South Park.
He takes a lot of shit from his parents. His parents ground him for every little for no reason whatsoever.
Why you got to blame Butters in this?
I brought Cartman.
Yeah.
Cartman has that main character energy. I mean, but Butters, dude.
But no, wait a minute. But Butters is a well lovable character on South Park. There's Cartman. There's Randy Marsh.
There's a lot, but yeah,
There's
Butters.
Kenny.
Rest his soul, Chef Isaac Hayes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Butters, man, that's a babyface, man. I can relate to that, man. I used to get grounded for no reason all the time. Granted, I probably deserved that shit, but you know, but yeah, I can relate to getting grounded like that. Butters is cool.
Butters is the absolute personification of fuck them kids. I mean, he got treated so bad. He is the personification of that phrase. He's a babyface just off of sheer sympathy alone. He just is. He's a babyface just off of sympathy. Look, exactly. Just off of sympathy alone. It's man. Like I said, personification of fuck them kids because bro. Just bro.
Him and Kenny, without question, because Kenny obviously is poor. Butters, in the meantime, he just takes a lot of shit from not only his family, his friends, and everyone. And I'm like, why is Butters hated so much? Butters is like the South Park's version of Meg Griffin.
That's a fair assessment.
You see how much shit that Meg takes from the Griffin family, particularly from Peter and Lois? And I'm like,
good Lord.
Why? Like, why is she so despised? Like, what is it about Meg that you necessarily do not like about her? And I'm like, with Butters, what do you hate about Butters? Butters is a cool dude. I mean, he's funny. I mean, Professor Chaos and stuff like that. But other than that, Butters got. Actually, my favorite part is when he kicked his father in the groin area. I was kind of happy when Butters actually did that, or him learning how to become a pimp. I didn't like that episode though, when Butters was learning how to become a pimp, man. That was funny though.